Ladies and gentlemen, I am so happy to announce that we can stop worrying. We can all rest a little easier today because the Deputy President, Mr. Paul Mashatile, and his family is going to be okay. They have managed to secure the tender from the government to run the National Lottery of South Africa for the next 8 years.
Yeah!
This is absolutely surprising and literally came out of nowhere. It is not actually a sort of fact that in South Africa, people who are connected to the top brass of politics get all of these government contracts and government tenders. It also should be noted that when the president was asked, or the deputy president was asked, hey, could there have been some kind of weird stuff going on? They were very quick to say, he has nothing to do with the license award process and it does not fall within the ambit of his delegated functions, nor did he participate in any way, shape, or form. Similarly, the business relationship with any of the parties involved has nothing to do with the deputy president and his wife.
Nice job, team.
This, of course, is the deputy president, his wife, as well as his wife's sister standing in a church. The deputy president was also seen at their house in KwaZulu-Natal multiple times, sometimes for up to a week, last year and the year before. The entire company, however, that is founded on all of this, the Balamonte Group, where all of this started, founded in 1990 by Moses Kumo, I believe it's Moses Tembe, or Tembe. This entire company is tied to so many businesses that most of them do business with the government. This is Balamonte Investments, and then from here they have multiple businesses. I mean, dozens of businesses that run. Now, the exact sort of process through which all of this ran and how we sort of figure out how they got this tender doesn't make a lot of sense. So Sizekaya is the company that was given the tender, but Sizekaya is shareholders in Balamonte Gaming, a company co-owned and co-directed by Kumo Bugatsu, Mashatile's sister-in-law, and Moses Tembe, the KwaZulu-Natal businessman who chairs Sizekaya and seems close to Mashatile. Bongatsu is the twin sister of Humile Mashatile, born Bugatsu. The deputy president and Humile were married in lavish set of celebrations, wara wara. Balamonte Gaming was registered 9 months later in December 2023. It's super interesting how all of this works, right? So Balamonte Gaming doesn't exist until December 2023. Now remember, each time these tenders are given, they're given over the course of like 8 years. So they would have known that it was about to come up for rebid. And this is where Balamonte Gaming is sort of registered in December of 2023, with Tembe Mugatse as its founding and still only directors. Balamonte and consortium partners then registered Sizekaya just days before last year's 3 February deadline to contest the 4th National Lottery license.
Nice job, team.
Trade, Industry and Competition Minister Parks Tau finally announced the award to Sizekaya on 28 May this year after protracted delays and what he called an arduous exercise of evaluating 8 applications. The National Lotteries Commission, which answers to Tau, helps adjudicate license bids. Very, very interesting how all of this sets up. So in other words, you have a company that literally steps in 2023, that's 2 years ago, comes into existence out of nowhere. You then have a company that literally registers itself, Sizekaya, last year. So just over a year ago on the 3rd of February, right? And that company is the one that wins the lottery or the bid for the National Lottery. This company that has no experience in actually running a gambling site, no experience in actually running casinos, one would think that there are companies that are better resourced and better equipped to run the National Lottery. Now, don't get me wrong, I kind of think the National Lottery is a scam to begin with, and I don't think anyone should be running or playing the lotto. But what is super interesting is how these things just continuously happen. We're just continuously told that, no, none of this is actually a problem. You shouldn't worry about any of this. Just look at how Paul Mashatile is connected to all of these people and how these people get all of these government tenders. And then you look at something like this, for example, where the government is now spending 97,000 Rand. 97,000 Rand, ladies and gentlemen, per toilet.
Woo! Yeah!
One toilet is costing the government 97,000 Rand. There's only one way this happens. It's because the company that is installing these toilets, or at least all of the companies that got it, are connected to the government in some way, shape, or form, either being friends of the government. The other problem, of course, is when you go and look at something like Balamonte Investments, they have so many businesses. They're involved in so much. If you look, for example, here, right, in 1990, Moses took a leap into full-time entrepreneurship, tenderpreneurship, a decision that would eventually lead him to found Balamonte Investments and the Balamonte Group of companies. This group built on 6 pillars, all bullshit, by the way, but they work. Just listen to this, right? Property development and construction. Industrial holdings includes geochem brands and IFS facilities management, energy and telecommunications, mining, gaming, and asset management. So effectively, in all of the places where you could get government tenders, because yes, all of these places are tied to the government and where the government would operate. Now, another interesting thing, of course, about all of this is that these companies will now also have a stake be bought by the South African national government, because that's part of the deal. You have to sell a part of your company to the national government, which is just absolutely bonkers. But, you know, it is what it is. Fundamentally, this country is being bled dry by a very hostile government. The ANC is not a friend to the South African people. It should never be viewed as a friend to the South African people. The national government, the ANC, came into power in 1994, and since then, it has only ever looked to enrich itself and those that are connected to it. When you look at things like this, for example, there is no way that you can turn around and say, well, this is just natural. There's no chance that dudes, we used to build homes for slightly more than that. I worked at a construction site where we built 14 units, and each of these units came out to about 250,000 Rand total. These were luxury units being built. They were sold ultimately for 2.2 million Rand per unit because of where they were located and the sort of security and stuff that was put into it. But the units in total, without all of the bells and whistles, you know, all the light fixtures and stuff, just building it, all of the plumbing, all of the electricity, everything going into it, 250,000 Rand. This was 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago. No way has it gotten that much more expensive. So maybe these days you'll build it for a 350, 400,000 Rand. That's for a whole house, 3-bedroom, right? This is 100,000 for a toilet. A toilet, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's happening to our country. We are being bled dry. And to make matters worse, the previous company that ran this, right, Itubu Holdings, they reported a 7.28 billion Rand turnover just in 2024. So the National Lottery and the one who holds the keys to the National Lottery can literally print money on demand. That is where we are now. But of course, they'll tell us that there's nothing to see here. We don't need to worry. This is all above board. The minister, Mr. Tau, couldn't possibly have known that these people were linked to Mr. Paul Mashatile. And in a normal country, in an actual functioning country, this would not be allowed. People who are connected to the government would not be allowed to do business with the government because it would be seen as potential for fraud, potential for massive, massive corruption, and of course, nepotism. But the voters continue to vote for these people, and thus we continue to bleed money as a country. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please remember to hit the like if you liked, the dislike if you didn't, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.